We are glad to welcome you to our channel. Kindly subscribe to our channel and share our videos with your friends and relations. And click on the bell icon for instant notification whenever new videos are uploaded on this channel. Rest assured that we are going to have a very exciting and inspiring discussion. Let's dive into the lesson right away. Hello everyone. In today's lesson, we are going to look at how best to write about a personal experience. In the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, the essay writing section contains essay writing questions from different writing forms, one of which is story writing. For example, in the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, June 2020, we have this story writing question. Write a story that ends with the statement, "I had never felt so embarrassed in my life." I would like to use this for illustration, just to show you how best to write about a personal experience. And this type of question can feature in any English language exam. I am Benjamin from English Classes Online. Let's jump into it. First, the lesson objectives. We are going to look at three main items. Number one, what is a good story? Two, the key steps in story writing. And three, sample story. So let's begin. What is a good story? A good story shares an experience in a creative, compelling, and attention-grabbing way. Think about what your story is all about. Think about the topic if you are already given one. For example, a day I will never forget, or the saddest day in my life, or the topic we are going to use for illustration in this lesson. I had never felt so embarrassed in my life. Now let's take a look at the key steps in story writing. Step number one, identify the topic of the story. Very important. Step two, identify the purpose of the story. Step three, identify the experience you want to share in the story. Step four, plan your story based on the elements of storytelling. Step five, write your story using an appetizing beginning. Step six, end your story with a resolution of the conflict and a relevant moral lesson. Very important. Step seven, edit your work. Now let's take this one by one. Number one, identify the topic of your story. How do you do this? Raise a simple question. What is your story all about? You know, what is it all about? You know, every good story is about a certain human experience, okay? And it is really very important for you to identify the topic of your story by figuring out what exactly your story is all about. You may have to figure out the topic from a given quotation or quote, or a saying or an expression. You know, it's something similar to what I earlier showed you. You know, most WAEC or other senior school certificate story writing questions will always want you to figure out the topic from either a quote, a saying, an expression, a statement, or a group of words. In some cases, you might be asked to write a story that illustrates the saying, "Prevention is better than cure," or look before you leap. Or like the one we are using for our illustration in this lesson, write a story that ends with the statement, I had never felt so embarrassed in my life. In some cases, you might be asked to write a story that ends with the words, if I had known, I wouldn't have gone out with him. Okay, so you may have to figure out your topic from a given quotation or saying or expression, a statement or a group of words, okay, as the case may be. Now, step number 2 is to identify the purpose of your story. How do you do this? Now, you should consider the question, what is your story meant to teach about life? Because every good story is meant to achieve a definite purpose, and that is to teach a moral value or a lesson about life. So you need to figure out this purpose by thinking about the expression given in the exam question. For example, write a story that ends with the statement, I had never felt so embarrassed in my life. Now, when you are responding to this kind of essay writing question, you need to understand that your story must highlight the root cause of the embarrassment. You know, what exactly has caused the embarrassment, okay? I had never felt so embarrassed in my life. What was the cause of this embarrassment? All right, so when you highlight the root cause of this embarrassment, that provides the reader with a lesson to learn about life, never to allow such a thing to happen, okay? Because it is an embarrassment causing kind of thing. And so every reasonable human being would like to avoid something that is likely to cause him or her some embarrassment, okay? So what is your story meant to teach about life? This is how you figure out the purpose of your story, okay? Very, very important. Then the third one is to identify the experience you want to share in your story. Uh, don't forget that for a story to be relatable and interesting, it must share a given experience. And such experience that you need to identify is simply, you can figure it out by asking yourself what exactly happened. You know, you are looking at a particular incident, you know, and we have some examples. It could be a personal experience you had some time in the past. It could be an incident you witnessed, heard, or read about. Or it could even be an imaginary incident, something you imagine based on general human experience. But one thing is key, and it is that every story must share a given human experience, and you need to figure out what this experience is exactly about. You need to identify a particular experience you want to share. This is important. For example, you know, an embarrassing situation you have experienced, just as we have it for our illustration in this lesson. You need to ask yourself, what exactly was this embarrassing situation? What was it? When did it happen? Where did it happen? How did it happen? And why did it happen? You know, you need to identify the experience you want to share. Just as we already stated that for a story to be relatable and interesting, it must share a given human experience. So in this step number 3, you need to identify this particular experience you want to share. Okay, that is very important. Then number 4, plan your story based on the elements of storytelling. You know, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, as the saying goes. And this is applicable to story writing, just as it is applicable to building a house or embarking on any other worthwhile project in life. Okay, what do? You need to come up with questions that, border on the elements of storytelling. When did it happen? Where did it happen? What exactly happened? How did it happen? Why did it happen? And so on and so forth. So at this stage, you need to jot down the facts or the main points of the experience you want to share about. For example, elements of storytelling include setting. What we call setting is the place and time of the event. Where and when did it happen? Then, of course, I didn't include who. Who is an important aspect too, because that is about characters. Characters form a major element of storytelling. Characters refer to the persons involved, and that is who we are involved in the actions, who actually did what, okay? Then the next is the plot, talking about the events that took place and how they happened. Another element of storytelling is conflict, and conflict may not necessarily be a confrontation or a fight between characters. It could be the major problem confronting the main character in the story. Then another thing you need to figure out is the resolution of the conflict, which will provide the theme. A theme is the main idea expressed in a story. And so you need to talk about the results of the actions or events, how you feel about the incident and why, Basically, it is all about the lesson that the story can teach the reader. Every good story must, teach is a lesson about life, or teach a good value, a moral value, if you like. Okay, so that is about planning. Then number 5, write your story using an appetizing beginning. It is important, because what makes a good beginning in a story is that it holds your readers' attention and makes them to want to read on. So you need to begin the story in a manner that whets the appetite of the reader and actually grab the attention of the reader and retain the attention of the reader. You can begin in a number of ways to achieve what we call the hook. For instance, you may begin with a question or a set of questions. We call these rhetorical questions. You could ask a question, or you could even describe the setting, the location, the weather, or the atmosphere. You may even describe an action or describe a dialogue, engage the main characters in a dialogue. This could be a dialogue or monologue. I recommend that you read any of my novels. If you browse through this channel, you will find where I made a video about these novels, or even gave a link that will help you to find them, okay, and read them. One of them is The Widow and the Wolves. Another is titled, All That Glitters Is Not Gold. You have another one with the title, The Bread of Deceit. Then you have another one that is titled, The Mysterious Survivor. Okay, The Mysterious Survivor. And then there are a number of them. You have the other one that is titled The Great Secret, The Great Secret. Then you have The Ghost Walker, and then you have another one. There are a number of them. You can find them because to be a good writer, you need to be a good reader, okay? Now, when you pick any of these novels that I have written, you will be able to see the beginning of each novel, you know, and how it actually prepares your mind to want to go on reading. And that is what I mean by an appetizing beginning, okay? You could begin by introducing the main character or giving some important background information. So if you read a number of novels written by great storytellers or story writers, you will be able to understand what I mean by an appetizing beginning. Now, the next one, which is step 6, is to end your story with a resolution and a moral lesson. Very important. Every good story presents a conflict that puts the main character in a kind of dilemma or predicament. It's a very serious problem, okay? This situation creates suspense such that the reader eagerly wants to know what is going to happen next, or most importantly, how the conflict is going to be resolved, okay? So conflict is a very powerful storytelling element because this is what really grabs the attention of the reader and keeps him or her in great suspense. You know, if you begin to read about a particular person who is in a very serious life-threatening situation, this actually gets you into a situation where you are emotionally involved and you begin to empathize with this character and you want to know what is going to happen to him or her, you know. So at the end of the story, the reader wants to know how this conflict is resolved. So, for example, if it is a story that is told by the character, is a life story of someone told by that particular person, and then you want to know exactly what happened at the end. What particular lesson about life does it teach? For example, indeed, it was the biggest lesson of my life, okay? Now, a good ending must resolve the conflict you already created in the story, which actually is what drives the plot, okay? So a good ending must resolve this conflict in a satisfying way, in a way that teaches a moral value or an important lesson about life, okay? That actually is what makes a good ending. Then the last step is to edit your work, because if you have a piece of writing that is full of grammatical errors or spelling errors, of course, this will actually devalue your work. So you need to edit your work because editing corrects your mistakes and helps with the clarity of your ideas. Okay, so editing ensures the correctness of your content by making sure that your writing is free from errors in various areas such as grammar, spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. You actually ensure that your content is correct and that anyone who goes through the story will actually will give kudos to the quality of writing that has gone into the making of that piece of story. Now, this is exactly the way to go. And this brings us to the sample story. I want to show you a sample of what a story looks like. And we are illustrating with this question taken from West African Senior School Certificate Examination of June 2020. And the question, the story writing question prompt is as follows. Write a story that ends with the statement, I had never felt so embarrassed in my life. So you take your topic directly from here. I had never felt so embarrassed in my life. Write it in capital letter on the top center of your writing material. And once you have given the title, then you begin with your first paragraph. Let's read this together, and then this will actually serve as an illustration, just to give you some idea about how this kind of story can be written. Now let's go. I was a college student looking to earn some extra cash during the long vacation when I saw a job opening for a retail assistant at a local store. I jumped at the opportunity. I had some previous experience in customer service, so I felt confident that I could handle the job. However, my confidence began to wane as soon as I walked into the interview. The hiring manager was friendly enough, but I could tell that he was scrutinizing my every move. I stumbled through the standard interview questions, and my answers came out disjointed and unconvincing. Wow. Let's continue. As the interview went on, I became more and more nervous. My mind went blank, and I couldn't remember any of the answers I had prepared. The hiring manager must have sensed my anxiety because he started asking more difficult questions. I tried my best to answer them, but my responses were inadequate and unimpressive. I could see the disappointment in his eyes, and I knew that I had blown my chance at the job. When the interview was over, I thanked the manager for his time and walked out of the store feeling dejected. I knew I had performed woefully, and I felt embarrassed that I had let my nerves get the best of me. Days later, I received an email from the store informing me that I had not been selected for the position. I was disappointed, but not surprised. I had lost the job because I did badly at the interview. That interview was certainly a very disappointing experience. I had never felt so embarrassed in my life. You know, this is just a sample story, you know, that could be written in response to the essay writing question we earlier read. And I hope you enjoyed today's class. If you did, make sure you like this video and share it with your friends and relations. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, kindly leave them in the comment section below. See you in the next class. Many thanks for watching today's video. A big thank you to all of you out there for being part of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, kindly subscribe to this channel. Subscribe now as a way of giving us support. For notification about new videos, click on the bell icon. You will find the bell icon. Click on it so that whenever a new video is uploaded, you will be instantly notified. If you have actually enjoyed the video, like and share the video with your friends and relatives. This is very important. If you have any comments, leave your comments below. Any questions, any suggestions, we would gladly receive them and respond promptly and positively to them. See you in the next video. I look forward